Now that you've set up your LLC and you've gotten your bank account, the next thing we need to do is get that bookkeeping software up and running. Now, this is a very important part, and people skip over this a lot of times when you're self-employed, but I'm telling you, it's going to save you time and money in the end. So let's go through what you need to do to get set up and started on a QuickBooks Online accounting software. So first thing I mentioned, we're going to go with QuickBooks Online. I recommend this for every small business and self-employed individual. The reason why is it's really just kind of the industry standard here in the US. It's the most common software out there for using online accounting, which means you're going to be able to find very easily CPAs and bookkeepers that are going to know how to use the software. So if and when you need help with the bookkeeping, or if you want somebody to access that to help with your taxes, they're going to be very familiar with that product, whereas some of the other ones we'll talk about later, not going to be as familiar with. It's cloud-based, so you can access it anywhere. It's also good when dealing with those bookkeepers and CPAs. They can get access to it really easily just by granting them access to log in from their own remote computers as well. It connects directly into your bank account, so it pulls all your bank transactions automatically in there, so eliminating any manual entry. You just have to tell it what kind of expenses from there, and that's 95% of really your bookkeeping right there. And it's just built for small businesses. That's where QuickBooks started, was a small business, and that's where they really primarily focus on. They are expanding into bigger businesses, but that core product that they have really suits well for the small and self-employed businesses. So other options that are out there, I'll tell you why they're not good. Most people just start with some sort of spreadsheet. Spreadsheet, as I mentioned, is a manual process, so it's error prone. You don't have a lot of those reconciliations and things we do as accountants and bookkeepers that help us make sure the books are accurate. You're not getting that with a spreadsheet system. So it's error prone. A lot of times it's just more work, in my opinion, than after the initial setup of QuickBooks, having everything just automatically pull in directly. There is QuickBooks Desktop out there. For those of you that have used that before, a lot of people really like that. The problem with that, I don't know if you can hear, there's honking going on, I'm sorry, in the background. Something crazy is going on the street, sorry about that. But QuickBooks Desktop is really getting phased out by Intuit and QuickBooks. They're pricing people out of it, so it's becoming very expensive to use it. So it's really not going to be a viable option currently, and definitely off into the future. There's other accounting softwares out there like Xero, Wave, FreshBooks. Now these will all serve the same purpose. They have all the basic features that you're going to need that QuickBooks has. The reason I don't recommend those over QuickBooks is what I said earlier. There are a lot of people, you're going to be easier, I should say, to find people that use QuickBooks and familiar with QuickBooks than some of these other solutions. We just don't use those as often because people don't use them as often. It's not as popular. So we're familiar with the QuickBooks Online. So you're going to be able to find people using that can help you out with that. And of course, the last option is just do nothing and bring in a file of receipts and bank statements to your tax preparer. Obviously, that's going to cost you more money and more time for a professional to actually then create your books from that. So we don't even want to go there. Get accounting software and get that up and running. It's going to make your life more simpler. Now, let's talk about which Let's talk about which QuickBooks Online plan to actually go with. There's a lot of them out there. Now I want to start talking about a couple things that are out there called QuickBooks Self-Employed, and I think they have one called QuickBooks Solopreneur. Now these are not actually the same as your QuickBooks Online. They have the QuickBooks name on it, but they are a completely different product, and they have a different engine, if you will, running those programs. I think they actually bought another software out there many years ago and rebranded it and did it. And so it's really a different product. And, I understand the concept and why it's there and why it's appealing to some people. The reason I tell people to steer clear from it is once that you outgrow that as a business, and at some point, if your business grows, you will outgrow the capabilities of those products. In order to move into the quote-unquote proper QuickBooks Online, you can't make that transition. They have some tools that help with that, but because they're really different products, it doesn't come over correctly and never really will. And so you can't transition from those. You really have to just abandon that old one and start anew. So you can't graduate up into the proper QuickBooks Online. So I really tell people avoid those. Don't get caught in, even though the name suggests if you're self-employed that it would be good product for you. It's really not a very good product in my opinion. So let's go on to the proper QuickBooks Online. And you get there by going to QuickBooks.com. Now, once you get there, go to plans and pricing page, and you're going to see 4 different options of levels, I should say, of QuickBooks that you can get. They range in prices, and the high one is their newest one, and it's really for those very large companies. I recommend everybody, self-employed and solopreneurs, starting off, start with what's called Simple Start. It's the basic package that they offer. It's going to have all the features that you're going to need to get started. And as you outgrow that one, then you can go up to the next level. And unlike with that self-employed product I mentioned, all you're going to do is just unlock additional features. It's the same engine driving it. Your data doesn't have to transfer over to anything else. You just unlock those additional features. The first one you're going to need that people go up to is having additional users, or sometimes they need more invoicing capabilities, things like that. But the basic one is going to be able to do all the functions you're going to need to get your business up and started. Covers all that. What are we going to cost? Well, right now in December of 2025, they're offering some promotions out there. They always do, to give you a month free or maybe a discount on 3 months out there. But right now that Simple Start's running at $37 a month. And that sounds like a lot for a lot of people. And a lot of people balk at that and say, that's too much for my business. But I guarantee you, as a business owner, using that software is going to save you at least as much, if not more, in your tax preparation fees. If you can walk in organized as compared to walking in with a pile of mess, it's going to cost you more for that tax preparer to sift through your information and prepare that tax return, and they're going to end up charging you more. So if you have it organized, ready to go, maybe a little bit of adjustments to make, it's going to be a lot simpler. You're going to pay less in fees, and it's going to, some cases, be more than those fees that you're actually paying on a monthly basis. So it is definitely worth it to go out there. So now that we know we want Simple Start, what do we need to do to get it set up? Well, walk through the process. They actually have a great onboarding process once you sign up for QuickBooks Online. It'll go through, but before you get started, I want to note some of the questions that you need to be prepared for and have answers ready when you go through the process, just to make that sign-on process smoother. First, of course, you're going to need all the information about your business, which you should know already, but you need to have that handy in your name. If you have an LLC, you're going to want to put your EIN in there. It's not absolutely necessary to put it in there, but it's nice just to go ahead and get it in at the beginning and be done. Address, you want to think about, it's going to ask you what type of business, what industry you're in, so be ready to answer that question. Again, things you should already really know about your own business, but just wanted you to be aware through that process they're going to ask you those questions. Now, the one people get hung up on or really may not know the answer to is what type of entity you are. And they're not asking for that LLC or sole proprietor. They're asking at as far as what tax type of entity you are. So if you're working with a tax preparer, or maybe you have an existing business that you're now adding QuickBooks onto and not starting from scratch, then you may know that answer and you know what you are. But you need to answer that question. And And all these things, all these answers are changeable once you get into the software. So once you put it in there, you're not set in stone, but this one's kind of important to get right on the front end because it does change what the default chart of accounts is going to be and then what they're going to get you. So you want to be accurate, but if you're not, that's fine. Most people will start with self-employed. The other option, most common, is going to be your S corporation. You might have a partnership if you're working with other owners in your business. So those are kind of the three you probably will want to pick. But again, if you don't pick the right one, it's fine. We'll adjust that later, and we'll go through how to change your chart of accounts in an upcoming video. So if you want more information on actually how to use the software, go ahead and subscribe. And I'm going to come out with some more of those videos, actually getting the mechanics of it. This one's just getting you set up, signing up, and getting your account up and running. So when you go through the process, one thing it's going to ask you to do is or give you the option to, is actually connect your bank accounts back into QuickBooks. As I mentioned, it will connect and it will pull things in. I recommend people don't go through that at the sign-up screen. Just get through that process as quickly as possible. Get up and running. Kind of get yourself familiar with. My next video is going to be about actually connecting those because you want to get some of those key questions again right and make sure you're connecting it correctly to get the information in the proper way. So I just go ahead and skip it right now. I just want to get you up and running, have an account, play around with it, and then we'll go through those steps. The other thing, don't try to customize it too much. Keep it pretty plain and simple. All these questions they're asking, they're going to add different modules and features into it. So when it asks you what you're going to use it for, keep it pretty basic. We can always add those things on as we need them. And a lot of those, to be honest with you, they're just trying to sell you a different products because they also own things like MailChimp. So they're going to try to sell you on MailChimp if you say you want email marketing. So my advice, just, don't note that you want any of those. If you do, you can always opt into those as you go. So that's my advice in setting it up. Keep it simple, get it going, get up. Don't try to add too much or do too much until you get the dashboard. Once you get the dashboard, just kind of familiarize yourself with the software, what things are. They have a dashboard. Look over in the side menus. They change constantly, but kind of look through and see where different features might be. You probably don't know what a lot of these things are yet, and that's fine. But just kind of get yourself familiar. Next video, as I said, we're going to add in those bank accounts and get the bank feeds, and that's most of what you're going to really need to do there in the software. We just want to get you set up here today. So, common mistakes I see when people set up, as I've kind of gone through, but you set up those bank accounts, but you don't really know what you're doing. You're just kind of rushing through it, and we set it up incorrectly, and it just kind of makes a mess. And so there's a little bit of cleanup we have to do afterwards. So that's why I advise wait till later. Let's go through, make sure we get those set up right after we get the whole process set up. And again, just doing a lot of customizations. You shouldn't have to do a lot of customizations unless you have a really unique and specific business model. And even then, you don't want to make those changes unless you're getting advice from some bookkeeper or accountant that you're working with that knows your particular business and say, yes, this is something you need to change for your business. So and you want to start, as far as starting times, right now we're in December, so it's a great time to start up, really starting the new year, or maybe, if you started a business here late in the year, whenever you start, we want to keep that cutoff clean, but we want to keep a full year. So we want to go back to the beginning of the year that we're really going to use it. So as we're towards the end of the year, we really want to set it up for next year. If we're at the beginning of next year, or any year, you may want to go all the way back to the beginning of the year, set it up, get a full year in there, because it's not very beneficial if you have 3/4 of a year in QuickBooks and 1/4 of the year in paper receipts. We want to get that all into QuickBooks as much as possible. So anyway, that's what I've got today for setting up QuickBooks Online. Again, subscribe. Next video is going to be connecting that bank account the right way, making sure you get those in and don't have to do a lot of cleanup afterwards. If you found this helpful, leave a like. I do appreciate that. And thanks for watching.